Let me know when you're ready. Okay, good. Okay, so before I ask for a motion for executive session, I'm going to read a little statement that gives people a little bit of background and they can use that to make their decision. Okay, so we recently received a notice of a schedule for the appeal from the Supreme Court. At this point, we must decide what to do. Obviously, that's a board decision. We need to go ahead or dismiss because we will have to start spending money. We've been preparing for this meeting since that point. So it's been just a few weeks, I think it was just since the last regular board meeting. And there's been some activity going on to prep for tonight. Also, this is the key accreditation point, and we need to get this issue resolved. In WCCU, it's been indicated to me by some of the folks that we need to, that is real key. And we only have 4 meetings, including this one, before the first report goes into WCCU. So, and there's still quite a bit to do. So I counted it tonight as one.
May, June, and August. You don't meet in July.
Right.
So there's May, June, and August.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. It's even less. Thank you. So we need to be rolling here. Before the first report goes into WCCU on September 2, there's much left to do. If you can assist me, I would appreciate it. We need to resolve this issue one way or another. So I need a motion. Let me read this executive session per Idaho Code 74-2061F, which is litigation discussion about Idaho Supreme Court case number 51168-2023, reference district court case number CB 28-22-7712, Swain versus North Idaho College et al. So I'm looking for a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. There's really no discussion. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Colton something.
Sure.
Colton, a few months ago at one of our meetings, before we went into executive session, you stated that you would take some actions if we averted from the reason that we would go into executive session. Would you reaffirm that statement, please?
Correct. If there's a directive issued to me, I can only act within that authority the board's given me. So I do reaffirm that.
Can you repeat the question? I couldn't hear. What was her question?
I think this had to do with a piece of litigation, and I had a discussion that set some parameters on a recommendation that I was going to make to the board and provided assurances that I would not exceed those recommendations. And so I think I'm being asked to reaffirm something.
Maybe you misunderstood me. So we're going to vote to go into executive session to discuss this particular case. So that is the only reason that the only topic we will be discussing during this executive session. So I'd just like you to affirm that. If we waver from that, what would you do?
I would instruct the board that that would violate the open meeting laws. And if the board continued, I would leave the meeting.
So you're reaffirming that?
I'm reaffirming that, yes.
Appreciate it.
And I'll reaffirm that too. We have one topic and that's it.
Okay.
Okay?
That's why we broke out multiple approvals to go into executive session, one topic per.
Right. That's what we're going.
Mhm.
And that's where we're at tonight.
All right.
Okay? So I think we're ready for a vote, are we not? Trustee Zimmerman,
Aye.
trustee Corkill,
Aye.
trustee Banducci. I'll give you a second. Aye. Trustee Kinsey.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That's 5. So we'll ask you to read it, please, sir, because it affects you and everybody else. So we'll proceed. Okay? Okay, let's go ahead, folks. We were able to go into an executive session and have some discussions. So we have everybody here, so we're convening the session when we have, we're called to order, and we have a quorum. So let's have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so
All my special people.
I'm just going to read my little message here. There have been a number of activities occurring since the last meeting a month ago. Obviously, commencement activities are almost done. I think we have one tomorrow for
Fire.
the Fire Academy.
Right.
So I'll be attending that. A lot of us have attended a lot of these meetings. We've been working on accreditation, and we're making progress on that. I'd like to say thanks to all the faculty and the staff for a great year. This is the 90th class for the school since the school opened in 1933. So that's quite an achievement. Okay, let's see. So let's move on. Celebrating Success Health Professions.
Yeah. So Erlene Pickett has got a student nurse that she's going to introduce to us and talk about her story. She thought she had two. That's why she keeps looking at the door. I'm here, Erlene. Ah.
Chair Wagner, Board of Trustees, esteemed guests, thank you for allowing Ford Nursing to share our success stories. I have with me tonight two former students. Hunter Kruger completed the ADN program about 2 weeks ago, and then Lauren Wimmer is with us. She graduated a few years ago and has continued her education, so I'm going to let them share their success stories with you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Hansen, formerly Wimmer. I attended NIC's RN program from 2019 to 2020 and graduated as Student of the Year in December of 2020. Prior to that, I became a CNA through NIC's Workforce Training Center in 2018, and prior to that, I was a GED recipient working at the YMCA. I had initially entered college for the first time in 2014 for engineering, and after that, in 2017 for nonprofit work. When I determined that those really were not the fields for me, I stopped going to college and I lived life for a while. I moved away from my hometown and I got married and I had a child. When I was ready to make a change in my life, I consulted with my friends and some of my mentors about potential professions that would be the right thing for me. I wanted something that would challenge me, something that I could help serve people and move them along in their lives, and something where I could make a living wage. I started this journey with stepping stones by becoming a CNA. I worked in the trenches at One North at Kootenai Health, and it was at that point during my first Code Blue that I determined that, yes, this is the profession that I want to be in for the rest of my life. I chose to continue my education at NIC because of the reputation the school bears in the community and within my group of friends. I learned that NIC is rigorous, it's competitive, and it has one of the highest passing rates for the NCLEX in the region. Not only this, but my work as a CNA led me to know that NIC nurses are built different from other nurses. My experience as an RN reflects this knowledge that I learned years ago. I've worked with travel nurses from states all across this country and nurses from every school in this region. And I still stand by my statement that NIC nurses are built different. They're more prepared clinically, and they are more prepared with foundational knowledge than many of the other nurses that I have worked with. I am proud to call NIC my alma mater, and I could have not have asked for a better partner in my education to help lift my career and lift my family out of poverty. With the gift of education from NIC and the partnership from my professors, who I'm blessed now to call my friends, I've been able to go from GED recipient to RN BSN, and I'm certified in critical care, emergency care, and trauma care. Not only that, but I am also a doctoral candidate. I am elated to inform my professors that I'm pursuing a DNP at Hawaii Pacific University, and I'm graduating in 2027. So I just owe a thank you to NIC and all my professors for playing such a pivotal and vital role in my life.
Hi there, folks. My name is Hunter Kruger, and I'm just going to share a little bit about my story and what led me to NIC into the nursing program. I, too, was a high school dropout, received my GED about a decade ago. I was in Spanish class on September 11th at about 9 in the morning, and a commotion erupted. Teachers rolled in a TV as we watched the second plane hit the towers. At that point, I dropped out of high school and went straight to the recruiter, enlisted. I enlisted as a Navy hospital corpsman with a contract to serve with the United States Marine Corps. I ended up doing 3 combat deployments and a handful of other humanitarian deployments. This is kind of a difficult subject to talk about, but I'm gonna explain a story that I haven't really said out loud very many times. I was in Taqadum, Iraq, came off of a couple of days of operations, and we were just wasting time, basically. When you're deployed and you're not on operation, you eat, you sleep, and you work out. Yeah, if anybody in here's a veteran, they know. I was in an internet cafe sending emails to my family when I heard a helo come into our casualty collection point, LZ. I knew some of those guys, so I stepped out of the tent and watched them bring a litter off of the helo, 1 man on each corner, and a medic on top of that litter performing CPR. I watched them load up into the ambulance and drive over to the shock trauma platoon. Shock trauma platoons, like the show MASH, if you remember, it's just a field surgical hospital. I knew a bunch of the guys over there, so I went over to the shock trauma platoon to see if they needed my help. I walked into the first tent, we're doing CPR, I tagged in for 1 round of CPR before the patient was pronounced. This patient was an elderly Iraqi man, he was mid-70s, and he had come in with his brother. And if you don't know much about that culture, they live in familial compounds, at least in the rural regions of Iraq. So it was likely that they lived together their entire lives. We pronounced that patient dead. Everything stopped. Mortuary Affairs was doing what they needed to do. I stepped out of the tent and immediately lit a cigarette. And I could see his brother sitting on a bench about 15 feet away, just waiting for news. I sat down on a bench straight across from him in a small courtyard, and I was smoking my cigarette, and the surgeon came out, let the man know that his brother was deceased. I sat there and watched that man weep for minutes. Every single cell in my body was screaming at me to do something for that man. And I couldn't. I was a coward. It took me years to realize the gravity of that encounter, and it's become the single most influential event in my life. I had the opportunity to make a difference that day, and I didn't. I was scared. I went on to work in EMS. I worked for the Food and Drug Administration, producing medical gases for North Idaho, produced gas for Kootenai, Bonner General, a lot of the different facilities in North Idaho, and then one day I decided it was time to get back into medicine. I went into the CNA program at NIC. From there, went straight into the ADN program here at NIC, and I want you guys to understand that the importance behind the ADN program and RNs. It gives us a platform to make that difference, if only for one person, for one moment. I see that man's face every single day of my life. 3 combat deployments, a number of humanitarian deployments, all the faces that I should see every day I don't. I see him every single day. And when I became mature enough to understand the gravity of that event, I decided that I'll never waste another opportunity to make a difference in anyone's life. So I'll tell you the reason I chose NIC. In our region, there's a few schools, there's a few easier schools, and it would have been easy to go that easy route. But the reputation of NIC told me that in order to be the best nurse that I possibly could be, I needed a strong foundation that was built by Earlene and the rest of the staff here at NIC. I want to thank you for listening to my story, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to stand here before you. Thank you, guys. I'd like to thank my beautiful wife. I couldn't have done it without her.
He told me he wanted to thank his wife, so I held him to his word. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to share our stories. We had one other previous graduate who was going to come. She completed the practical nursing program and then did the PN to RN bridge program, but she got called to work tonight. So I would encourage you, if you've not seen the reel on the NIC Facebook page about the Guerrero brothers, I would encourage you to pull that up and watch it. It's a true testimony to how the nursing program changed their lives as well. So again, thank you for the opportunity to share. Please know that health professions and nursing have an abundance of these special stories of success, and just let me know when you want to hear more. We're happy to share. Thank you.
Thanks, Earlene. Thanks.
Thank you. She's entering the program.
How long will that take?
We'll take her, it takes 3 years.
Okay, you guys.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much. Very wonderful. It's great. Okay, next is the president's report.
Well, we have, yeah, so you're right, sorry. I was looking further down the agenda, so. I'm going to try to make mine a little shorter tonight and focus on students because we've had so many great events with students, but I'll tell you a couple updates. Accreditation, Steve Kurtz and I, with our ACCT consultants, are now meeting weekly to prepare the report for the NWCCU. It's due on September 2nd, but there's a lot of work that's got to get done, and so a lot of data that needs to be collected, evidence needs to be collected, and then make sure the board's has an opportunity to participate in the process. So we started this week, and we'll do that every Monday. In terms of enrollment management, I have a couple of slides to share, I think. Yes, okay. So around the country, community colleges enrollment is not great. It's up a little bit this year, but I just read a report on it this morning. But this is our enrollment look for the summer, and just a couple things to point out. Just focus on the graph on the left-hand side. The red line is this year, and the blue line is last year. And so the fact that the red line starts further to the left means we started 3 weeks earlier than we did last year. You can see we had a steep curve. We had a really solid marketing program, lots of activity going on, pretty well planned out. We'll do better next year, but pretty well planned out and pretty well executed by a large number of folks on campus. And so you can see that line has gone up pretty steadily. Last year, the highest, you can see that it peaked, the blue line kind of peaked, further to the right and then dropped down. The highest it was at was 1,014. And we're at about, as you can see up top there, 1,140. So we're gaining about 10 students a day still. We have 2 weeks left. So it would be really great if we could get to about 1,200, which would be more than 200 more than 200 more than last year. Very eloquently said, I'm sure. So we're up across the board in all areas, with the exception you see of the Western Undergraduate Exchange. Last year we had 19 students, or this year we have 19 students, where like last year we probably had 20. So it's not a huge number in terms of magnitude. And in out-of-state students, this year we got 41, we're down 2%, so we probably had 42 last year. So not a huge number, but we're up almost 200 over last year, which is really pretty impressive. So next slide. This is fall enrollments, and again, we started 3 weeks earlier than last time, so the red line that you see on the chart starts about 3 weeks earlier than last year, and there's a steady climb up. When you start out, I think the first day we looked at the chart, we were 33,000% above last year. It's because we started 3 weeks earlier, right? So, but now as the numbers get closer, we're up about 5%, which is around 120 students. But we've got, we have a pretty solid marketing campaign that's kicking in, that'll kick in over the summer. And dual credit, we have some new things going with dual credit. So we expect that will be at least 2%, maybe somewhere between 2 and 10% over last year. So as long as that red line is to the left of the blue line, we're in good territory. And there's a lot of effort that's going into this now that will be continuing throughout the summer. And so I think this is really good news for NIC. And it just shows that the community is coming back, they're supporting, and so we're pretty happy with this. So I guess that's the only 2 slides I had to show tonight, so we can cut the projector off. But then moving on to community stakeholder engagement. Last Thursday, we had our the most recent community forum, and it was on fentanyl. And it was about 60 people showed up. Fentanyl is is an incredibly invasive drug that is far more pervasive than most of us think. We had a great panel of folks talking about it. Josh Hurwitz, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Idaho, retired State Trooper John Kemp, from the Idaho State Police, Jeremy Heil from the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, Stanley Mortensen from the Kootenai County Prosecutor's Office, and Sam Abramson, the Tribal Chief of Police for the Coeur d'Alene Tribe. About 60 people showed up, and at the end of that session, 2 families shared that just showed up at random, shared that they had both lost. One woman lost her adult daughter, the other family lost their adult son. And they shared that. It was very moving, and made the whole thing very real. And we'll have a follow-up to that. So the first meeting was to talk about the problem and let everybody know. The next issue is we're going to talk about the services that are available through healthcare providers and others for rehab and treatment. So that'll be coming up in September after everyone's back. But it was a pretty effective community forum. I met with 2 local businesses this week, one just this morning, that are interested in supporting the college. So again, things are picking up. I've been here 2 years. It's the first time that businesses have reached out to me and said, hey, we want to support the college, and to the board that one of the topics they talked about was supporting athletics. They want to get in and support athletics. So there's they say in a big way. I don't know what that means in terms of dollars, but there's some very. It's nice to have interest in NIC and NIC athletics. So I think again, it's a good thing for the community. A couple weeks ago, I met with Jamie Smith, and for those of you who don't know, he's the new CEO of Kootenai Health. We spent about 3 hours here, toured Meyer Health, walked around the campus, looked at the dental hygiene facility, and he was just blown away. He said, if we get swamped at the hospital, and Erlene bragged about this in all the simulation facilities, we have a full surgical suite. We don't have, our tools are not sharp. They're simulators, but we could do surgery here. I mean, he said we could absolutely do surgery here if we had to. So that's quite a compliment to the equipment that we have. Part of that was the CTE grants that we briefed last month. But he was super impressed, and we think that we'll have continued strong relationship with Kootenai Health and all of our healthcare partners. The next item, board members, administrators, faculty, and staff are all participating in the scholarship award ceremonies that the high schools are having. They're awarding the NIC Foundation scholarships to a total of 289 area high schools from 22 different schools. So everybody's on board with that. They're spread all over, and so folks are going to their local high schools and handing out awards to the students, and they've already made a decision to come to NIC. So this is 289 additional students that you didn't see reflected on the chart that will be coming in the fall. And then this morning, I got to participate in the Coeur d'Alene Charter Academy's signing day, and so we signed up 3 new students. Again, 3 more that aren't on the chart that have to register, but 3 young ladies, 1 studying engineering, 1 chemistry and physics, and 1 graphic design. So there's more good news coming from our local high schools and charter schools. And so rather than talk about Workforce Training Center, career and technical education, and transfer programs individually, I want to just cover some of the really cool things that have happened since our last meeting that exemplify student success by our graduations and commencement ceremonies. The spring commencement ceremony celebrated the graduation of a total of 848 students. It's a very large graduating class. About 300, more than 350 walked across the stage at a combination of 2 ceremonies. So we're now big enough that we had to have 2 ceremonies, more than could fit in the gym. So we start in the gym and walk to Schuler. So really nice ceremonies. It's actually nicer, I think, because it's air conditioned for those of you who want to attend. So very, very nice. We had our nurse pinning ceremonies. We recognized the completion of another 34 nurses. Again, about nearly 100% of the nurses that started the program were able to complete the program, and almost all of them passed the test. I think 1 did not pass the NCLEX test this time. So among the best nursing programs in the country right here at NIC, as you heard tonight. Our GED graduation was very moving. We celebrated the success of 219 students that completed all their testing and earned their GED certificates this year. 61 students walked across the stage, which was really cool. A lot of students, and it wasn't a packed house, but there were a lot of students there. And for most of them, it was the only graduation ceremony they have ever participated in. So it was really a moving ceremony. The graduates aged from 16 to 57, so pretty interesting combination. I think it was 12 to 92 in terms of age of participants, but in terms of folks that walked, it was 16 to 57. Support of our student athletes. As many of you know, it was in the paper the last couple days. Men's and women's golf team ended their final season in NWACS as champions. Both men's and women's were champions. I think that's 5 in a row for the men, and first repeat for the women since 2016.
6.
So, yep, six in a row. Okay. So great performance by our golf team, and then our NIC's softball team finished their final season in NWACS with a 44-4 run. They finished 2nd in the league. Disappointing loss in the final stages of the last game, but really a great run for our softball team. And just to let everybody, we typically have 152 athletes on contract or on scholarship. We've got 114 signed now, and the coaches are actively recruiting. Some of them, golf and softball, kind of on pause because they were into the championships, but they're fully at it again. In terms of our strategic planning, you'll hear more from Sarah Garcia later, but we're in the final stages of the phase 1, which is to get endorsement of the 5 strategic goals. That you'll hear more about that later. And then in terms of just general updates, last month I reported that we were wrapping up the 7 CTE grants that we won, about a $1.3 million total for the CTE grants. And Vicki Isaacson shared some slides on the impact of that. But I want to let you know that we're still got, we're actively recruiting other grants or going after other grants. 3 new ones were submitted this week alone, totaling about $2 million. The first is a continuation of the TRIO grant program for about $1.5 million. You'll hear more about that later. We are also submitting a pretty substantial grant in the amount of $300,000 to support the Idaho Department of Transportation with heavy equipment operator training. And finally, we are submitting a workforce training center grant for the $180,000 for the Mine Safety and Health Administration. We've been doing that for a number of years. We're one of the few, I think the only one in the region that does the mine safety program for our mines. So we're supporting that industry as well. And that concludes my report for the evening.
Okay, thank you very much. Sounds like a lot of good things are going on as usual. I'm continually amazed by the list of all of the things that this school does for the community and the region. Any questions by anyone?
Not a question, just a statement.
Go ahead.
The president's report was, I thought, contained a lot of quality information of this institution spread going in a lot of different ways and charging in a lot of different ways. So it's, charge on, keep going, and I don't know, the workforce is doing good. That's what it sounds like.
Thanks.
I have one question, something you
Sure.
didn't cover. It was covered previously in some of the sessions. Do we have a status, or can you get a status on 2.0124, freedom of speech?
I can. I
Okay.
don't know where that is right now, but
Can you share that with me in the next week or
yeah,
so?
I can, yeah.
Okay, good, thank you. And so that's that. Okay, information items. Again, Dr. Swain.
Sure. So we'll do the trio. Becky is going to start off our trio update. Becky Cochran is the director of trio, and you'll see in the slides that they're not just playing. They're making a huge difference, and you'll see that in some of the numbers that she'll present.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Wagner, trustees, Dr. Swain, and esteemed guests. I'm Becky. I'm the director of the TRIO program here at NIC. I've been with the program since 2001, so we've had this program here at NIC for a long time, and we have to rewrite every 5 years. So I wanted to just give you some information about what we do and a little bit about the grant write that we're working on right now. We're a federally funded program that serves a small group of students, so we can just serve 160 in a school year. And our grant award is about $294,000 each year, so times 5. Our whole mission is to assist our participants to persist and to graduate and transfer on for a 4-year degree. So we can only serve students whose intent is to get a bachelor's degree in something. We partner with lots of other NIC programs to just support students in lots of different areas. So we have lots of single moms, veterans, students with disabilities. So speaking of that, you have to qualify to get in our program, and so you have to either be a U.S. citizen or resident intending to pursue a bachelor's degree, and at least one of the following, either first gen, that's defined by neither parent has a bachelor's degree. Low income, that's defined by, if you get a Pell Grant, you probably qualify for low income, and a student with any kind of disability. So have to have at least one of those qualifiers or a combination of those. And I'll give you a little bit of history. This program was started in the 1960s as a result of the war on poverty. And so they wanted to encourage students who didn't have, the opportunity to go to college to get a degree. And so they instituted Pell Grants and thought, okay, if we give students a grant to go to college, they need some support. So they instituted TRIO programs then to support these low-income students, and we've evolved to be a little bit, to allow students with other qualifiers to get in, but that's kind of where the whole program came from. We provide lots of services to try to help these students persist and graduate. So you can see on the list all kinds of good things we do. The picture you see is we went to the pumpkin patch in Rathdrum, fall of 2023. Everybody got to pick out a pumpkin. So we get to take them on cultural events, but mostly we find that the relationships that we garner with the students is really the special magic that TRIO has. they get a chance to get to know each other, make friends within our program. They feel support from their advisors, their tutors, and so that whole, knowing that somebody cares about me, that they're watching over me, they're checking in me on my grades, do I need help in my class? That's really the main thing that we see makes a big difference. So every year we have to submit a big report to the Department of Ed. They want to know if we really are doing good work with our students. What are we doing with all this money that they give us? So we have to check our students' retention, graduation, persistence rates, and you can see the national average up there for, this was specifically low-income community college students. Persistence rate is not great. It's about 60%. So, and persistence is defined by students who start in a fall and persist into the next fall, or graduate, or transfer. So all of those things mean student is, still persisting in college. Our participants typically have 85% persistence rate when we do those big reports at the end of each year. So all those, the relationship and all the supports that we provide definitely make a difference. The graduation rates you can see too, not great, 20%, and that's over a 4-year time span. Our graduation rates are about in the 50%. So those are over and above the objectives that we wrote in our grant, and so every year the Department of Ed checks that to make sure we're on track with what our grant says. We are funded through August of 2025, and so what we have to do is rewrite our grant every 5 years. It's due, the newest grant is due this July 15th. If approved, we get 5 more years of funding. They tell us if you get a TRIO grant, in the past, doesn't mean you'll always get it back. You have to rewrite and you have to do a good job. So they're highly competitive. One thing that we have in our favor is that those annual reports that we do, we get extra points on those for exceeding our grant objectives. And our program consistently does that. So we have to serve 160. They check. They want to know what are the names of the 160 you serve. They check, what are your persistence rates? What are your graduation rates? How many of your students have a 2.0 GPA or higher? And they check that against what we said in our grant we were going to do. So because we're consistently always higher than, the actual rates are always higher than what we wrote in our grant, we get extra points. That helps us when we rewrite the grant. Hopefully we'll get it back, but it's never a guaranteed thing. So, any questions about TRIO?
Any questions?
I'd just like to say I'm very impressed with the work that you're doing, and that with those 2 captivating stories we heard about the nursing students. Every month, I'm just blown away by the impact this institution has on the community. So thank you for that report.
Thank you.
I guess I have one quick question. The TRIO, is it in Sandpoint as well, or is it only mainly on the campus here?
Well, because of COVID, what happened is we really said we can open up to the Sandpoint campus. So if we have students in Sandpoint or other satellite campuses that qualify, we can accept them. Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah.
So we can still serve them even if they're off-site, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, great.
Becky
and her team do a great job. It's really impressive, the work that they do.
This community, if I can call the school a community, really helps a lot of people who need a hand up. And since I've only been a trustee here a year and a half, and I've obviously had a lot to learn, I've still continually keep learning about more things the school is doing that is beneficial, and the list just keeps expanding. I'm pretty amazed. Okay?
Thanks, Mike.
So you have the next one there.
Yep.
Area aging.
Area Agency on the Aging. So we have a brief update. Sarah will introduce them, and
Good evening, Chair Wagner, trustees. I'd like to introduce one of my Director reports, Sage Stoddard, sorry. Sage Stoddard, who is the executive, or the director for our Area Agency on Aging, and she's going to give you a little bit of information about what they've been doing this year.
Okay, so last time I was here, I brought the mechanical cat. If you remember,
yes.
no cats this time, okay?
Couldn't turn it off,
I know, right?
as I recall.
I kind of got stuck. So thank you, Chair and trustees and Dr. Swain, for inviting me to speak today. So my name is Sage Stoddard, and I'm the Director of Area Agency on Aging of North Idaho. I like to kind of abbreviate and call that AAA, and not to be confused with the car insurance company. So we are one of the programs that's under the North Idaho College umbrella. AAA serves seniors 60 and better. Our budget for the state fiscal year 25 is about $1.8 million. This is both state and federal dollars. And this funding is allocated from the Idaho Commission on Aging out of Boise. Their funding comes from Administration for Community Living. So there are currently 6 AAAs in Idaho serving all of Idaho's seniors. So we have a staff of about 15, and we're located off campus on Highway 95 in Canfield, kind of over by McKenzie River Pizza. So our customer service department, our year starts July 1st, goes through June 30th. So far this year, our customer service department has received 3,620 calls. So this is about 75 calls a week, and many times these calls turn into assessments for program services. So here's a few of the services that we provide. We provide homemaker services, and homemaker is kind of like light housekeeping. To date, we have 191 seniors receiving homemaker services. We also have respite services. So respite means rest. So respite gives caregivers rest. We have 90 caregivers right now receiving respite from our programs. We have long-term care ombudsman. Long-term care ombudsmen are advocates for seniors that are in the facilities. So North Idaho has 13 skilled nursing facilities and 62 assisted living facilities. So this is a total of 2,762 beds or residents. So we have 2 positions in our ombudsman department, and our ombudsmen are required to visit each facility at least once a quarter. So since October, they've investigated 97 resident complaints. Adult Protection Services is another service that we have, and Adult Protection Services, or APS, protects seniors from abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Year to date, we've had 713 APS reports. We also contract with the 13 senior centers in North Idaho to provide partial funding for both home-delivered meals and congregate meals. So congregate meals are the meals that are at the senior centers, and they pull seniors together to socialize. Home-delivered meals are provided for seniors that are homebound. So from last July through the end of this April, we've helped with 62,673 home-delivered meals and 46,890 congregate meals. We have a wonderful volunteer who makes phone calls to homebound seniors for our Friendly Caller program. She just calls and asks them how they're doing, socializes with them a bit, and by the way, we're always looking for more volunteers to do this. We partner with Panhandle Health to help fund the Fit and Fall classes and equipment that they are trying, and we're trying to raise awareness for how important these classes are to help keep seniors fit. Falls are one of the top reasons for seniors moving into a care facility. They will actually be, there's a statewide Falls Conference for the first time this summer in Boise. We facilitate and present a class called Mind Over Matter for incontinence. Incontinence is one of the most reported reasons for seniors making a move to assisted living. We also have a gentleman in our office who provides Medicare fraud education. So we are partnering with Dr. Susan Malchiori to do a pilot program, which we call BEAM. And BEAM stands for Brain Education and Memory Clinic. It's a two-prong approach, one, assessing, and two, educating clients and their caregiver about Alzheimer's disease and related dementia, or ADRD, and providing those with ADRD a care plan with resources going forward. The Alzheimer's Association and AAA each present an educational segment, and then Dr. Malchiori and her associates perform a cognitive assessment and then put together a care plan with resources. So this has helped reduce the long line of seniors waiting to be cognitively assessed, and Dr. Malchiori is able to mentor other qualified physicians with this process to increase the number of physicians who can recognize and assess cognitive issues. So we are also, one more thing, we're also running a transportation pilot in the north. So this is called a consumer direct transportation program where a senior can choose who transports him or her to their appointment and what time. North Idaho has some very remote areas, so it's not always easy to get traditional transportation. Reimbursements are handled by the hour, not by the mile, which allows the senior more flexibility for support during appointments, not just to and from. An example I can share with you is of a gentleman who lives in St. Mary's, and he has physical therapy appointments here in Coeur d'Alene. So he has 10 physical therapy appointments that he has to attend per month. So traditional transportation doesn't always help him get from Coeur d'Alene or from St. Mary's to Coeur d'Alene to do this. So he's utilizing a friend to help him with this service and is able to give him some money for some time and fuel. So we are actually, Idaho Commission on Aging chose us to pilot this program. So we have many, many more things that we do at AAA, but Sarah told me I only had 5 minutes, so. We're one of those programs that you don't really know who we are until you actually need us, but we'll be there to help you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So,
Are there any questions?
yes. Mr. Banducci.
Thank you. You indicated that you currently have 2 ombudsmen. Is that because you're having a challenge to find them, or is that all that you have positions for? And I'm curious, are they paid or volunteer?
So we actually have 3 ombudsmen, 1 full-time, and then 2 part-time, which makes up a position, and that's all that we have funding for. But then we also run a full volunteer program. So COVID killed our volunteer program. And so we're really trying to build up that program right now. So we do have 2 volunteer ombudsmen at this time and are, looking for more. It's a great, great program. And we have, all the training is provided in our office.
I hope you're able to get more. My wife was one of your ombudsmen for a period of time. Yeah. And you guys have always been challenged to get enough qualified people to help, but you guys do some amazing work. And again, people aren't aware of you until they need you. And when you all are in the facilities, you're a real advocate for the patients and the families. And
Thank you.
a big help. Yeah.
Thanks. Are there other questions?
Yeah, Terry has a question. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Trustee Zimmerman.
Thank you, Chair. I might have missed, how many seniors do you provide services for?
I don't have a count on the total amount of seniors. We provide services for seniors in the 5 northern counties, anyone who's 60 or better. And so it could really be any senior. I should have brought a total count of the seniors in the 5 northern counties, but I don't have that. I can get that for you though, and we can report that back later.
Thank you. And who is eligible for the program?
It really kind of depends on what programs we have. Income is not always an eligibility factor for our programs, but someone who is low income is definitely a priority. And so again, it kind of depends on which program that you would be asking about or a senior would be asking about. So when they call our office, we do a pretty lengthy assessment. It takes about 45 minutes to do the assessment. And then, they may call for home-delivered meals. They may call for respite services or homemaker services. It just really kind of depends on which program that they are wanting.
How do seniors or family members of seniors who feel that their family member may need these services, how do they find out that this is an opportunity available to them?
That's a good question. And that is kind of, as I said earlier, we're kind of one of those best kept secrets, and you don't really know that you need us till you need us. Definitely can be Googled. We do lots of presentations in the community also, and we're also present at all of the health fairs. And so if someone needed like respite services, they could definitely Google respite services, or they could ask their doctor. They could ask friends, family members. Probably the best bet would be going online though and looking for our services.
Okay, thank you. Our family did use their services, and Dr. Melchiori was amazing.
She is
And
amazing.
felt very fortunate to get in there. It was a long wait, and we somehow got lucky and got in to see her. So
Yes.
my experience was amazing. I was very pleased with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Banducci.
Actually, Terry, good questions, because that was one of the challenges and why I was curious about how many folks you still had and whether they're paid or volunteer, because it's your presence in the facility that gives the awareness. Because as the ombudsman, they're going through and they're hitting the residents and they're asking questions and they're interacting with the families and making them aware of the service that's available, and particularly if there are any issues or challenges that are being encountered and if they can be helped with. I think you mentioned you have a number of ongoing, I believe you used the term investigations, or things that you're looking at to see if you guys could help with, obviously.
Yes.
But it seemed like that was a lot of it, was the presence in the facilities, and I guess that's still the model to a large degree.
Yes, absolutely. And we also do advertisements in the newspapers as well. So, any other questions?
Thank you.
None? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So Head Start is next?
Yep, our final report for the evening is Head Start.
So I get the luxury of working with both of these wonderful women. And I can tell you that until I started working with them more closely, I did not really understand what they did and how passionate they are about what they do. You couldn't find two better ladies to run organizations like this than Beth Ann and Sage. So I'm so proud to be able to work with them and help guide them through their process. Beth Ann is here to give you a little brief update about what's been happening with Head Start this year. And so Beth Ann, you want me to?
And Sarah promised to do my slides for me, so I'm so excited. Chair and trustees, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to do these informational updates. Sometimes I present, but it's usually with big stacks of grant items, so I really appreciate just being able to give a general update. So what is Head Start? So Head Start is also a federally funded program that provides service, and we provide that in all 5 northern counties. Our program promotes school readiness of children aged 3 to 5, and that's those 2 crucial years before they're age eligible for kindergarten. And so priorities given in our program to limited income families, homeless families, foster children, and families that receive public assistance, and also children with disabilities. Those are some eligibility criteria, and then we have other stressors that families may be facing that give families more points to get into our program. So I saw a real parallel listening to, you know, we have some of our families are part of TRIO, some of our families are students that are trying to work and go to school but are still within that poverty guideline, that they need that help because they absolutely cannot afford the exorbitant amount that we're all needing to pay for childcare. So priority, providing comprehensive education, health and nutrition services to children and families. We set goals with both families, and we set goals for the child and the family with those families. So, and then we work all year on those goals with those families. And our motto is to make sure it's motivational. We want to know what their hopes and dreams are and how we can help them get there. So these are our locations, and I'm really excited to say we have a new location there. So in our 5 counties, you can see all of our centers, and that's our map of how we're spread out. But within Benewah County, we have a new center called Upriver Head Start, and they are thrilled to have us there. It's a medically underserved community. They have no other childcare or preschools in the whole area. So we became childcare licensed right before we opened on May 14th, and the families are thrilled to have us there. And I promise next time I get to do this, I'll bring pictures. So we had a federal review. Thank you so much to Trustee Zimmerman for being part of that interview, and our policy council, parents and community members. Our review was held the week of March 11th. Our program was deemed compliant. I want to just show in fiscal program design, which included shared governance, thank you, and strong practices were noted for education and child development, our eligibility, recruitment, selection, enrollment, and attendance, which we like to call ERC because that's way too long, health services, family and community engagement services. And what was really amazing about it is they usually try to find one strength area that they can highlight, and they had a hard time figuring it out, just one, so they gave us strong practice notations in all those areas, so we were really proud of that. One minor non-compliance was noted. We're working on the resolution of that, and what it entailed is that not all of our children got a health determination by a healthcare provider, either a doctor or a dentist, within the first 90 days of enrollment. So we're required to get that information if we can, as fast as we can, because we need to make sure there are no barriers to learning. That's a lot of what our program is about. We've been able to identify things like hearing difficulties and vision difficulties and cognitive delay, all kinds of different issues that if we can help remedy that, children may not need any disability services and they can be really successful in school. So we wanted to highlight that. We served 259 students, and in this year, with cumulative enrollment, so children who drop and add, we've served 280 so far. Of all those families that we've served this year, I just wanted to highlight, we prioritized finding families that meet the McKinney-Vento definition of homeless. They don't have a permanent, adequate place to live. And 30% of our families have qualified under this year. So it's a focus for us to make sure that we know all the services that might be available, all the resources for families that are either situationally homeless or chronically homeless. 15% of our children that we have enrolled have been identified with disabilities, and that's part of what we're supposed to do, is make sure that we make at least 10% of our positions or our slots available to children with disabilities. And we partner with our school districts and we work directly on those goals. So children aren't pulled out for services, they're receiving services in our classrooms, and our teachers are getting help with therapists and specialists that can help us with strategies that help children hopefully move out of needing what they call an IFSP is an individual family service plan that young, like threes, come in to our program with, or an IEP, which is an individual education plan that we receive from school districts. And then we're super excited to tell you that with our FY25 COLA increase, we're going to get a 2.35% increase to our wages. And then what's left when we bump that wage scale to our fringe increases. So that was really helpful. And our new Head Start, I already mentioned, is in Fernwood, Idaho, and opened, and you can tell we're proud of that because I mentioned it twice. So I would be happy to answer any questions about our Head Start program or anything else you'd like to ask.
Any questions? No?
The age range, one more time?
Go ahead.
You bet. So they have to be 3 by September 1st or 4 by September 1st, which ensures that if they come to us as a 3-year-old, they'll get 2 years in Head Start before they go to kindergarten, or if they just come to us as a 4-year-old, they'll get the 1 year before they go to kindergarten.
Okay. Go ahead.
Would either you or Sarah, for those that are listening, maybe here in person that aren't familiar, or for those on Zoom or whatever, some may not understand the relationship between NIC and your program and why you're part of the college, if you will. Sort of like, you know, the AAA even isn't intuitive to a lot of folks either, why we're engaged in that. It doesn't seem to be part of our core mission to some, you know, the educational. So if you'd like to speak to that so people can kind of understand that.
You bet. Do you want me to? You bet. So the college has been what they call the grantee of our Head Start program for over 50 years. So when the grant was available, the college stepped forward and said, we have the fiduciary structure and we have the ability to provide the kind of oversight that you would need to run this federal program. And so it's just been, and it could have been, I think we're the only program in Idaho that has not been in what they call DRS, which is designation renewal, which means at some point we had something we needed to work on that was significant enough that they put the grant out for other entities to apply for in the same type of way as these other programs have a 5-year cycle, we do as well. So we've never recompeted just because of the strength of the college and their ability to provide us with the human resources oversight and the fiduciary oversight and the shared governance. So that strength has really supported our program over all these years to be one of the strongest programs that there are, really, and thanks to NIC. I think the other connection is we really have to have a lot of folks. We have 90 employees, and many of those, probably 50 of those 90, need to have early childhood background. The college has provided us over the years with a great foundation to send people to get their child development degrees and to go on and get their bachelor's and their master's as well. Most of our management team have master's degrees, and many of them started out as parents in our program and went through NIC, either LCSE or University of Idaho or other programs, and then also went on and got master's degrees from U of I or BSU or whatever they pursued. So I think that piece of that connection makes our program extremely strong. And we're also at NIC Children's Center, which one of our classrooms is designed specifically for students at NIC. So students do not have to pay a penny. Head Start doesn't cost money for anything we do. And so those students that are lucky enough to get into that classroom we have in the Children's Center have a full day classroom 5 days a week, and their children that are 3 and 4 years old get to go there for free, and it really seems to benefit those students that don't have to pay that child care cost for that age of children.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say a couple things, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but just for those wondering, the board chair is in the email strings with everything going on with the program. Other trustees are made aware and are invited to various things, but the board chair is part of that. And then, as you mentioned, we provide the human resource and being payroll and some of those things, services for you guys, and I think college is even reimbursed a little bit, because I think all your funding is actually federal. So for those wondering, how much is the college paying for this? We're actually not paying anything and actually receiving some compensation for the services that we're providing to help out as we're available to do. So that way, same with AAA, I believe, you guys won't have to recreate the wheel and provide all those and duplicate those services and such. So it's much more efficient that we're able to help with those two, with both those organizations.
Exactly.
Did I say that correctly?
Yes, that's very correct.
I just want to mention, with both of these programs, what I find really fascinating is the number of times that I have referred people to either Area Agency on Aging or Head Start when they've had a question about something that we aren't experts at here on campus, but that we know we have experts available. And whether it's a resource for a student or a faculty member or a staff member or a friend of a friend, we know about these resources and we share them with the community. So to Trustee Zimmerman's question earlier as well, we are some of our biggest town criers when it comes to sharing this kind of information. So, my mother's getting old and I don't know what to do. Call Area Agency. I'll just tell a little personal story. My mother was struggling with something at home, and I told her to find the equivalent of the Area Agency of Aging where she lives, and she didn't even realize it existed there either, and she was able to get some help that she needed with something. So I think it's amazing that we have these programs.
Okay, anything else?
I'll just make.
Go ahead.
I had occasion to be on property and ran into Beth, and she gave me a lovely tour of the facility and really explained a lot to me about what goes on there on a daily basis. And I was really impressed not only with the facility, but the passion that you have for what you do. And I think we're really grateful and thankful for you. Thank you.
Anything else? Nope. Now, we have one more here. Are you prepared to do that?
Yeah, I'll do it. But I just want to say before we go to the next stop, that this completes the last of the recurring reports that we agreed to early on. So we've gone through at least one cycle. So that was, and they're so busy doing things and working on their grants and everything that getting them in just to talk about their programs was a bit of a challenge. But so I do want to thank everyone for coming in and doing their presentation tonight. Then on to the security audit and contractor update. So Alex has been working with a couple of different contractors to figure out, and there really are not many that do security audits for higher ed. So he's been working with a couple of different ones, and one of them gave him a ballpark number that was reasonable, and then just earlier today came back with a more comprehensive report and said, gave him a number that was way out of the ballpark. And so we're kind of back to square one with that, and he's talking to the other company now to try to get a more reasonable figure. So and these are two reputable companies that do this as a specialty, and so we're kind of back at square one with these guys, and it was a a lot more than what we had expected. So we're still working on it.
Okay, any questions? No questions? We're down to the consent agenda. Do we have any motion for accepting tab 1?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept tab 1.
Do you have a second?
May I ask a question? Sorry, when they would do the consent agenda,
It's usually the whole,
usually we do both together.
yeah, the whole thing.
So
You
the
wanna do both?
Sorry, not to correct you, Brad, but the motion-
That's fine. No, I was going to do that, but,
Yeah.
you know, okay, I'll make a motion to accept the consent agendas for tab 1 and tab 2, the minutes for April 18th and April 24th.
Do we have
I'll second it.
second it? Vote then. I think we can do a voice vote on that. Ayes?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays? Unanimous then. Thank you. Consent agenda is done. Now we're down to the strategic plan. Second reading. Sarah, I guess you're up on that, right?
Sherry was going to be here, but it's her daughter's last band concert, if I recall. And Alex, the reason why Alex isn't here, it's his son's last baseball game. So there's like all these parental things that take precedence over board meetings that I just don't understand. No, I'm kidding.
Chair Wagner, trustees, thank you for having this conversation about our strategic goals. So last month, Sherry and I walked through the process, kind of start to finish, of how we got to the point of these 5 strategic goals for the college, involving community conversations, data, both internal and external data that was developed into these broad overarching goals over an iterative process. And so just for clarification, I would like to go ahead and reread them. The first goal is to enhance student access and support services to strengthen student success. And the little graduation hat is just the indicator that this is a student-centered goal. This goal is to help students specifically. The second goal is also a student-focused goal, and that goal is to provide streamlined, flexible pathways to success that empower students to reach their educational goals. The third goal is, I was having trouble finding icons, so please forgive my attempts, but the third goal was meant to be a group or a community goal, which is to expand and strengthen relationships with business, industry, educational, and community partners. Our fourth goal is focused on creating a unified educational system among the college and its centers. So that's more of an internally focused goal, but it also has a benefit to the students as well. And then the final goal, goal 5, is achieve organizational efficiency and effectiveness by fostering a dynamic college environment that invests in employees, facilities, and technologies to support student success. So that's an internally focused goal that will allow us to better meet the first 2 goals, which are in support of the students. So I'm happy to stand for questions. We are requesting that the board endorse these goals so that we can move forward with the next stage.
Now, you spent an extensive period of time where a group of folks, I know I've been interviewed, to come up with these goals, correct?
Yes, sir.
So I've gotten a question on the last one. Achieving organizational efficiency, and it doesn't say and student opportunity. Is that implicit in there, or is something missing, or how would you?
That goal is really about what we need to do internally in order to create an environment that we can support student access and support and success.
So when you say to support student success at the end of the goal, it's implicit in that includes student opportunity.
We can't, yes, we can't provide opportunities to students if we don't do that.
Okay.
The opportunities are really addressed in the first two, because those are the student-focused ones, and this is the systems that need to be working in order to accomplish that.
Right, and you're looking at this as a total package.
Right.
How these all intermesh and
Correct.
connect and feed
Correct.
back and forth, correct?
Absolutely.
Correct.
Any other questions?
I would just,
Go ahead.
thank you, Chair. I think it's important to emphasize as a trustee for number 2, and I initially thought of it with number 4, but I realized it may be more applicable to number 2, that to retain the community college uniqueness, or however you want to say that, I just want to make sure that that's well understood by everyone, that we want to stay a community college and not a 4-year. And that while relationships and partners are good, whatever's best for the students, but we are a community college for our community.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Do you want to make any further comments about that?
No, I think typically you would, part of this process is relooking the mission, vision, values of the institution, and that's where we kind of get at the 2-year aspect of it. There's no intention of changing NIC to anything other than a 2-year institution. That's why we're pursuing all these intentional 2+2 programs, is that we're really good at the 2, and the 4 years are really good at the +2. And so it's far more efficient for us. We have great partnerships with both Lewis and Clark and U of I, and even in a couple cases, even Boise State, to provide those +2 pieces. And it works out way better for us to stay at a community college. And I think there's no intent to do anything other than that.
Okay, any further questions?
Would still like to voice my thoughts that I don't see this 5th one. I see that student success was tacked on at the end, but I'm hearing that it's not student focused, that it's employees, facilities, and technologies focused, and I feel like the goals, all of them, should be student-centric. Interesting.
So it's great to have student systems. I mean, and the institution is absolutely student-focused, but unless you build the systems that operate, you can't accomplish those student-focused goals. So the last goal, Goal 5, is about the systems, personnel, all the environment, the employees, the facilities, the technology that are required to allow that you have to have. They have to be working well in order for the students to succeed. So this is all about the systems that have to be in place to make the students, to enable the students to be successful, to give them those opportunities, which are goals 1 and 2. So it's about the systems, not the students, but it is also focused on the students, because that's why the systems exist.
Right, and I'm looking at this statement, and these goals are all related, tied in with each other, right?
Correct. Yeah, none of them.
So when we say enhance student access and provide streamlined pathways, and those are all goals that are all grouped together.
Correct.
If you pulled any one of these out, the rest of them would be damaged, right?
Correct. They're all integrated, yep.
Damage as in, we wouldn't be aiming for an efficient and effective thing if we didn't have that goal? Or is that by default there?
I think I'm going from my experience putting together these types of statements, and they're all tied together. If any, it's like a table with 4 legs. If one is too short or comes off, then the table turns over.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Was it purposeful to order them the way you do? Because when I read it, it looks like the bottom is sort of the base that
Yes.
this builds up to, and the top is student success. So I don't know if
They are purposefully ordered, yes.
So it's layers.
Yeah, the number 5 is the foundation and the,
Yeah.
and it
Okay.
allowing to achieve, so.
Right. Super. Okay. Any further questions?
Maybe,
Go ahead.
just so that I am pretty clear on what this looks like. So the first two address the primary mission, which is to serve students.
Right.
So that's why we're talking about students first, and there's 2 different areas there, 2 different goals. Then the next one is, it's a community college, so we look at the community goal. And then all of the systems within the college have to work together, so that's this one here, creating a unity. And then the last one brings all of the administration and basically the engine that makes the college a college, makes that the goal. So that you put it all together and you have essentially the components of a community college. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd just say on goal 4, part of the issue that came up through this process was that some of the, like Sandpoint sometimes feels like they're out there on their own, and Post Falls feels like they're, so being able to integrate all of those centers to make sure that we're all pulling in the same direction towards student success is kind of also the focus of number 4.
Okay.
Yeah, so if I can summarize something you said, there's a couple key words. There's a foundation, and it's an integrated system working together, all these goals to make the school support the students.
Correct.
Okay?
That's right.
I was looking for our prior goals. There we are. So just
Go ahead.
comparing it to our prior master plan. The prior master plan was goal 1, ensure affordable student access, completion, and transfer. Goal 2, invest in people, places, and processes. And goal 3, engage with community and workforce partners.
So this is expanded and more granular. Okay? Anything else? Anything else? No? Go ahead.
One thing that Greg just mentioned, I hadn't thought about that, and I remember those 3. One of the things he touched on there was affordability. When we look at the top 2 as being student-centric, am I considering that the first one is capturing the thought process of affordability? It says student access.
Well, and
Access and support, right, that's.
Chair Wagner, Trustee Banducci, I also think, it's with the second goal, it says provide streamlined, flexible pathways. So that is affordability in my mind, because you are trying to ensure that people aren't wasting their time or their money taking classes that they don't need, or going down a path, or and if they change their mind, how can they take advantage of what they've already learned and use it in a different pathway? So it's not affordability as far as what's the price tag, but what's the overall value, and how are we helping them get the best value for their money?
Okay, Sarah?
Yes, sir.
So I'm used to working very large projects. I've had 100 people working for me and reorganizing companies and that kind of stuff. So generally, you start with goals, and then you have objectives to more of them to support the goals and say how you're going to actually achieve it. So these are kind of the ideals. This is where you want to get to, right?
Correct.
And then you split it out, and I'm hoping this helps some. And then you go from there and keep drilling down until you execute, right? So in terms of the process, we have this deliverable right now, which gets us started, gives us the where we want to get to in our journey, and then how we want to get there is the next step, right?
That's correct.
And when will you have that ready?
So after these goals are endorsed by the board, we will re-engage with our strategic planning partners over the summer to reevaluate some of the work that we've done, and then get the committee back together in the fall, because it's very critical that we have students and faculty involved in this process. So we would start up in the fall to start developing those objectives and action plans.
Okay. That sounds like what I experienced is the standard process, and that sounds good. Okay. Any further questions? If none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve.
Endorse.
Endorse
Yeah.
these goals. Anybody want to make that?
So moved.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? We've had quite a bit of discussion already. Let's go ahead and have a vote. Ayes?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays? It's unanimous. So it's approved, and we go on, okay?
Thank you. Sarah's up next, the budget.
Again?
Still?
Still?
Do you need a rest?
No, I'm just waiting for them to pull my presentation up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, you've been doing so much work tonight, I'm trying to be
Go run in a
supportive.
circle or something, but no, I'm
Right.
good. I'm good, okay. So, good evening again. Chair Wagner, trustees, President Swain, colleagues, and guests. Tonight, I am here to request approval of our FY25 budget. I do want to note before I get started that I did have the opportunity to follow up with a few trustees after the first reading and have some additional conversations and provide some clarification, and I appreciate the opportunity and the interest in the budget by those trustees. Based on last month's conversation and the types of conversations that have been held since last month, we incorporated what we had made as recommended changes to the budget into this presentation. The total dollar amounts have not changed between the first and second reading, and the only changes made were the one-time cancellation of the capital investment reserve transfer and the inclusion of the fund balance transfer. So in this presentation that you have in your packet, those were formally put into the process. So the numbers look like they will look when the budget's completed. So it's based on what we discussed last month. So there's no like negative numbers anywhere. It's a balanced budget at this point. The cancellation of the reserve transfer really allows us to use that $2.8 million for operations rather than transferring it out and into a designated reserve. I do want to say again that the solution that we're using this year, which is the capital investment reserve and the fund balance contribution, are not sustainable solutions for the institution. Continued use of the reserve balance to balance the budget will erode at our reserve level and put us outside the recommended fund balance levels. So I'm going to do this relatively quickly. I don't want to go through all the slides.
And I will say that our sustainability, a trustee asked me about that. Our sustainability plan for this is growth, which you saw the enrollment numbers. So with, we'd like to get 500 more students than last year, which would equate to about $2.5 million in revenue. So that's kind of our sustainability plan. That's why so much emphasis on enrollment numbers. We are thinking about sustainability other than fund balance. I just want everyone to understand that.
Thank you, Dr. Swain. As I said last month, part of the sustainability plan is getting a bead on the actual costs of some of the changes that we're making this year. Wanted to start off with just a quick reminder of the assumptions that we started with this year's budget, which included no tuition increase, no base property tax increase, only new property on the rolls, flat enrollment compared to 24, the current year's 24 actual enrollment, a 3% increase in compensation for employees, which is a step plus a small increase to the base. The medical benefit premium increase of approximately 5%, and the implementation of the change in funding for the NJCA competition. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
No, Sarah, I think I inquired to this at the first reading, and I don't know that we've made any adjustments, but this does not include any adjustment in compensation for the part-time or the adjunct, correct?
That is correct.
And did we have a number of what that would cost us if we were to bring them to parity with this 3% increase that we're doing with the full-time?
I should have calculated that number, and I did not. My recollection is in the past, it's between 100 and 150,000. Any other questions? So on page 2 of 17 in your packet, this is kind of the really bare bones summary of the change in revenue for this fiscal year. The change in revenue is 2.2 million, which is about 3.9% increase over last fiscal year. And in a nutshell, it includes a tuition increase to offset the grant and aid number that we have for athletics. And that's actually 24% of the total increase. Our new state funding for general and CTE allocations is about $538,000. That's about 25% of our total increase. 9% of our increase comes from local funds, which is the new property on the rolls at $200,000. The increase in interest income is $250,000. That accounts for about 11% of the 2.2 million. And that's due to the increased interest rates and the balance that we have in the capital reserve right now. And lastly, the increase in the transfer from fund balance for this year, as mentioned earlier, and that's about 31% of the total increase in revenue. I want to mention that as we inch closer to the end of the fiscal year, I'm keeping a sharp eye on how much of the fund balance transfer we're using this fiscal year. We had budgeted about $1.9 million of reserves that we were planning to use this fiscal year. We used that for one-time charges and some carryover from last year. And at this point, I anticipate that we'll be using very little, if any, of that anticipated or that budgeted fund balance transfer, which will be helpful because that means we're not using an amount this year and then budgeting for another amount next year. We're not using what we budgeted for this year, so we have a little bit more in the kitty basically to support this year's fund balance transfer. Okay. General fund, the expense increase in balanced budget is the same as the revenue increase. This is on page 3 of your packet. It includes about $1.5 million for salary and benefits increases, a reduction in general expenses of about $600,000, that one-time cancellation of the capital investment reserve transfer, and the cost of the increases for the NJCAA, which does include 2 full-time staff positions. I showed the capital investment reserve transfer as a negative number in this calculation because it's not leaving the general fund. It's staying in the general fund. We're reallocating it, but so that's why it shows up as negative. An additional note regarding the FY25 expenses is that last month we discussed that we're going to continue to hold 21 positions vacant for this fiscal year. We did that last fiscal year. We had 21 vacant positions. after conversations with trustees and internally within the college, we have determined that we can reduce that number to 15. So we're going to hold 15 positions vacant, which means they will have $0 assigned to them in this year's budget. The other 6 of them are going to be eliminated from the budget. So we will be ending those positions. They are vacant positions. They are not occupied by anyone. No one will be losing their job. They are positions that have not been filled for a period of time. And so we feel that we can reduce them out of the budget for this fiscal year with the understanding that we'll have the opportunity to request the new positions when we feel they're needed. And I told you this is going to be short, so now I'm going straight to the end. So this is an overview of the magnitude of the resources under the stewardship of the college. It's over $75 million. This is slide 17 in your packet. In addition to the general fund, which we discussed briefly tonight and in more depth and has 15 pages in your packet, we have different types of funding. Fee-based funding, which is the second column on here, that the detail for that is on page 14 of the board book or of the board presentation. The service units is on page 15 of the packet, and then the final column, the grants, is on page 16 of your packet with additional details. And with that, I will stop and stand for questions.
Questions?
Mr. Chair, this is going to be more of a comment, and then I'm going to make a motion. Had an extensive visit with Sarah and Josh Gittle on the initial trustee review for this process. We had the first read. Sarah and I have subsequently talked, in fact, as late as yesterday. I was waiting to see what I would see on a couple things, so I see where we left them. Put a lot of thought into this budget as I have over my 12-year tenure on this board. I'm in the finance industry, and numbers and money are something I do on a daily basis. I have a concern, and I'm going to address it. I've briefly mentioned it before, and I've spoke to the subject previously. But right now we have some funds allocated. Not a significant amount. We've actually reduced them, and we've had some conversation about the outside agencies that we partner with or have memberships with or give money to and support, or however you want to define the relationship. I'm going to specifically address the Chambers of Commerce and the EDC, the former Jobs Plus. We provide funds to them, and again, the amount is irrelevant, but the funds are not designated, or they're basically unallocated and can be used for anything. And part of the problem is that there's a lot of political activism in those organizations, ads in the paper, programs, things they sponsor. And some of those activities can directly impact the election of trustees at the college. And that provides an ethical conundrum, because that can provide an undue influence. And ethically, it's a conflict of interest, and the optics are terrible. And it's quite problematic in my opinion. So I'm going to make a motion that we strike all funding from the Chambers of Commerce and the EDC, because again, the money that we're donating to them or giving to them or sharing with them could be being used directly for their political activities, which can have a direct influence on the election of trustees at this college. And nothing that we do like that should be able to have that direct connection. So based on that, I think ethically we have no choice but to strike all funding for those organizations from our budget. I think it's the appropriate and proper thing to do. So I make a motion that we strike for this year's budget all funding for the Chambers of Commerce in the area and for the EDC, the former Jobs Plus.
Do we have a second?
Excuse me.
Was that, you were asking a question or you were second?
I'm asking for a second.
Well, just trying to understand, according to our policies that we have too, I think what you're saying is to look at where those college has chosen operational expenses to spend on those categories, and to basically say, put that back into the reserve fund. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
And then they can solve it how they want.
Use it against the funding challenges we have, maybe even.
Process-wise here, I think we need a second and then discussion, right?
I'll second that.
And President's Goal.
You are correct, sir.
Discussion.
How do I accomplish these if we're not?
Do we have any discussion?
Well, Mr. Chairman, that's kind of caught me off guard here, but I don't know, as I'm aware of the fact that the Chambers of Commerce support certain political causes or candidates. Maybe they do. I'd like to see their budget and see what they do on that to pull the funding to those organizations as abruptly as this. I think is a little inappropriate right at the moment. So,
Mr. Chair.
that's all I have to say.
Sarah, can you give us the approximate amount? I know you're prepared for that.
It's about $7,000.
Again, it's not the amount, it's the point of it.
Managing on the part of the board. And I'd like to know, how do I directly engage all community stakeholders and offer mechanisms of feedback in order to analyze how NIC is meeting its community needs and make improvements, engage business, industry, and education partners to strengthen NIC's reputation and offerings with metrics to include community stakeholders. President's Goal number 4. President's Goal number 5. Update, strengthen, and align workforce training programs to meet community and business needs and maximize the use of our facilities with growth into a regional hub. President's Goal 6, update and strengthen and align career and technical education programs to meet community and business needs and maximize the use of our facilities with growth into a regional hub. So you do that by partnering with organizations like the 4 area Chambers of Commerce and the Economic Development Councils. Those are the ones that are bringing those folks into the community that have a platform for businesses and new businesses coming into the community. And so we partner with those, not for the political aspect of it, but for the networking and the access to these things that make up President's Goals 4, 5, and 6 and Strategic Goal 3.
Mr. Chair.
Let me make one statement, if I may. I understand that the Chambers of Commerce provide support, et cetera, for the college, right? But I also understand they're doing political activities that impact the trustees. So I just want to make that clear that there's conflicting roles there, and this is going to be difficult. Go ahead.
And there's the challenge, because these are unallocated funds, they're not designated, you can't separate out which funds are being spent on what. So while what you say is nice, the actual part is that they need us more than we need them. We're the ones providing the education, the training at the Parker Center. So for us to be paying them, it could actually be the other way. They should be donating to us and supporting us because we're providing the technical and educational expertise that the employers need. The facilities here for the academic transfer, in our CTE programs at the Parker Center here on campus for the nursing. So we actually have this reversed. We're giving them money in the partnership, and they actually need us to fulfill their mission because they're trying to attract people into the area, and they're using us as part of that carrot. So the college is one of the things that they dangle and say, we have this, same as we dangle, we have a good hospital. In fact, we have a couple, Northwest Special Hospital and Kootenai Health. You know, so those are the different things. When they are marketing to organizations to get them to move here, they're saying, here's what we have to offer as a community. We have this in the health, we have this in the education, we have this, you know, in whatever industry they're in, you know, the trained workforce, whatever. So again, I don't see where we need to be contributing money to them. Yes, we partner with them and we can work with them, but that's a lot different than we work with private industry, or we're working with them to get them on our advisory councils out at the Parker Center, our advisory groups. So mixing apples and oranges there a little bit, I think, sir.
Okay, Terry, I think is next. Do you have a comment, Terry?
Yes. You know, I'm looking back at the strategic goals, and I see here that the third one is the community goal: expand and strengthen relationships with business, industry, educational, and community partners. The chambers are community partners, and I don't believe that there's any proof been laid out here that they have a political agenda, or they are actively working to put anybody on this board or any other board in our community. There is just speculation. And I think that that is just not the way that we should do business. The president needs to go out and engage in the community. He's done a good job with that, whether it's President Swain or another president. We need to continue to foster that relationship and be a part of that community.
Mr. Chair, I'll ask.
Hang on just a minute.
Sorry.
President Swain, do you want to say something further?
This was specifically identified in the last NWCCU letter, that this is a prime example of micromanagement by the board that gets into operations. So this is counter to our accreditation efforts to try to micromanage what I do and how I do it. And it is critical that we have these partnerships in the community, and the chamber and the economic development folks are the conduit for much of those partnerships that we're able to do. They help us out with the community forums, both the hospital and the chamber. We work together, and the taxpayers of Kootenai County support us through the businesses are supporting us financially, and our payback to that is a partnership with the chamber. So I don't see it as a conflict, and I think it's a critical aspect of what we do in the community college.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
A couple thoughts. First off, here we are again in kind of an, I won't say argumentative, but a debating situation where it's trustees and the college president, and it, again, feels like I'm talking to a sixth trustee here. It's an interesting dynamic. That's fine. But I would like to speak to something that Trustee Zimmerman said. She said overtly she's not aware of any. I will direct you to the press that had a picture of them sitting at the podium for the debate with the empty seats purposely there with the people that had said they would not be there. And that debate and that event was specifically sponsored by the very people I'm talking about. So they are engaged, actually sponsoring an event, a political event, for the candidates. Now, that's about as direct as you get with involvement for the political process. So either you don't remember or it slipped your mind, and that's okay. But I would just point that out because you were there, and Brad was there, and Pete Bruchette was there. So anyway, I'm done.
Go ahead, Trustee Zimmerman.
Thank you, Chair Wagner. I remember very well the photograph, and the optics were bad for those who didn't attend. Everyone was invited to attend. I did attend, and that was a community service put on by the joint chambers, not one specific chamber. Everybody was free to go. You were free to go, you were free to speak. The community was free to come and listen to the answers and the questions, and it gave the community a good opportunity to hear the candidates. So I think that's a really positive thing. Second point, and yes, I do remember it, so laugh away.
You just made my point for me. Thank you.
Not really. I think I just totally schooled you, but anyway.
To all candidates.
The other point I'd like to make is, once again, here we find ourselves on stage for the commission to look at us getting into the operations, which we, by this time, should know is not what we're supposed to be doing. This is a policy. We talked about this during policy debates months ago. It's old news. It's in the past. Here you bring it up again when we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3 meetings left to put on a good show for the commission so that we have a good report. Let's just stop trying to get into operations, put it to bed, End of story. Go, just direct your policy, and that's it.
I, just like to comment, yes, there's a whole set of facets to this, but we're only talking about $7,000. And I understand it's a sensitive issue, but it is an operational issue if it's to be changed. Otherwise, we need a policy. And that's the way the process works right now. I may not even like that, but that is the way we do it. So,
Chair, could I say something?
no, I'm not finished yet. So we need to take a look at that, maybe from a policy standpoint. But right now, we're down to approving the budget, and we have an issue of only $7,000, and I don't see that as significant.
I would just wish to document that this was a much more significant number before trustees' eyes were on this. And I think Jobs Plus alone was $30,000, if I recall, last year. No?
15.
How much?
15.
15.
Maybe we'll go back 2 years then.
I don't remember prior years, I just remember last year.
Okay, well, and I do appreciate at least being partially heard for getting down at least to even 15. And so I think other organizations have even pulled out of these places, specifically Jobs Plus, for good reason. And I think our partnership with them is one where we mutually benefit and that we can still cooperate with them without directly funding them with taxpayer dollars into opaque nonprofits. And I think also we have to look at this motion in context of $7,000. Even if it was, in the worst case, directly going to unseat one of us, is that worth essentially providing a bad example to an accreditation agency? I think it's only $7,000 out of a $60 million budget, and I'm sure we've already proven this budget alone has $750,000 of savings that they're going to be searching for. So I think that speaks for itself. I hear what Trustee Banducci is saying. He's speaking on behalf of a lot of people in our community, and I think you should be heard. And but at the end of the day, unless we can point to a policy, that's it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
I'd like to make one comment.
Okay.
If we started at 15, we've already cut it down to 7.5. And so that's a compromise. Maybe that's the best way to go. Go ahead.
$5,000 is not a lot of money, but the impact of that loss to those chambers is going to be huge on this community.
I think that's specifically the Jobs Plus.
Okay. So, any further discussion on that motion? Would you restate your motion?
Yes, sir. My motion was to strike the funding in this budget for the upcoming fiscal year for the area chambers of commerce and the EDC, former Jobs Plus.
Okay. Or no more discussion, I think. We're ready to have a vote.
No second.
We don't have a second yet? Oh, no, he gave a second. Yeah, so we have a second. So vote, let's do a roll call vote on that.
No.
No.
Aye.
I'm going to go no.
And I would vote no, so it's 1-4. Okay. Okay, moving along, any other issues? with the budget?
Just requesting a motion to approve, to accept and approve the budget as presented in your packet for this for the
Okay,
upcoming fiscal
I
year.
need that. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget as presented in our packet.
I'll second.
Second. Discussion? No discussion? Let's have a roll call vote again. Mr.
Aye.
Corkill?
Aye.
Zimmerman? Mr. Banducci?
Aye.
Mr. McKenzie?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, and it's unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, trustees.
Okay, we have one action item left, new business. I wanted to make a little statement about this. Let me get out my glasses here, you know, it's a thing. Okay, so we received a notice of a schedule for appeal from the Supreme Court. At this point, we needed to decide what to do, and I'm very happy to say that we had a 5-0 agreement to go into executive session and discuss that, and we've done that discussion. This whole process has been, in terms of working it, has been going on for almost a month now, and we knew it was coming, so now that the Supreme Court has responded, it's time for us to do what we need to do. Okay, so as agreed upon, we have a motion. Would you read the motion?
Thank you, Chair. We had a very productive executive session today, starting at 5 p.m. The board had discussion, and the motion is as follows. Without waiving the attorney-client privilege and based upon the advice of counsel, and for the beneficial effects a dismissal will likely have on North Idaho College's accreditation standing, I move to authorize panel counsel to dismiss the appeal in case number 51168-2023 in reference to the district court case number CV 28227712 Swain versus North Idaho College et al.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
Well, we don't really have a discussion. We already had it. So,
Actually, Mr. Chair, I have a couple thoughts I'd like to share. And I'm sure this won't be popular, so that's okay.
well, we need to, we don't want to discuss what went on in,
Not going to.
okay.
No, I'm gonna speak from the 10,000-foot view a little bit here about this whole process and the way this thing went down. And it sends a message when this is dismissed that people can do or say anything they want and it's okay, no matter how true or right things are. And everybody just gets a free pass, there's no accountability. And I'm disappointed, we had a fairy godmother activist judge that made some decisions that left most of the legal counsel, whether they were part of it or neutral, with their jaws on the ground and shocked at the overreach, just shaking their heads. We've experienced some interesting things. I've said it before, the corruption and cronyism in Coeur d'Alene is just extends to this college and to everything that goes on in this area. And I take great exception and issue to these things. And I'm disappointed as it's perpetuated by some of the elitist power brokers and the handlers behind some of this. And this is what we're seeing here too. We've politicized and weaponized the SBOE, the governor's office, the NWCCU, and they've used those to neutralize the board. And here we are again being held over our head that says, you've got to dismiss this for the sake of accreditation, which was a manufactured crisis by a handful of people, which I won't name here publicly. But now they're going to get their way and they're going to be rewarded. And the judge appeared to be rewarded. I mean, you make a call, picked above several other people, including a former AG for the new position. We have another lawsuit where we have a judge, we're completely out of his subject matter expert area, and that goes interestingly. And it's just, the people here, it should be just this behavior and these antics and tactics should just be offensive and considered an insult to the electorate of taxpayers and to the college stakeholders. It undermines public elections and good order. And quite frankly, it disgusts me as it is just another form of attack on certain trustees while stripping us of the authority granted to us by statute and by law. We're told we can't do this, we're told we can't do that, we're told don't say this, we're told don't say that. It's been interesting to watch how this has been held over us. It's like we're children and don't do this, you're gonna get spanked. It's egregious. And
Can we wrap this up?
yeah, I'm done. I just had to say my piece because I'm so frustrated by this. I'm at the end of my tenure of 12 years, and I'm glad. Man, it's here.
Okay, so
This one's for you guys that just clapped. Love y'all. But here's the deal. It is what it is, and I don't see how we're going to get away from this thing. But I had to just say, it just galls me to watch how this has all played out over the last several years, and that's fine.
Let's move on here. Okay, so
I'd just like to clarify, thank you, Chair, that this motion is not for the sake of accreditation. It's a byproduct and may be beneficial. And I'm not going to say any more because I don't want to botch the attorney-client privilege.
Okay,
That's it.
so let's go ahead and have a roll call vote. Mr. Corkill?
Aye.
Trustee Zimmerman?
Aye.
Trustee Banducci?
Nay.
Trustee McKenzie?
Nay.
Chair votes aye. 3 to 5, or 3 to 2. Okay, we need to move on. Okay.
Could you just restate the motion one more time?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Chair?
Yeah.
Without waiving the attorney-client privilege and based upon the advice of counsel and for the beneficial effects a dismissal will likely have on NIC's accreditation standing, I move to authorize panel counsel to dismiss the appeal in case number 51168-2023 in reference to the district court case number CV 28-22-7712 Swain versus North Idaho College et al.
Thank you.
Are you wanting to change your vote?
Yes, actually.
Go ahead.
Just, I'll vote aye.
Aye, so now it's
Sorry.
4-1, and we'll go ahead and have that case dismissed. Okay?
Yep.
So next we have
Public comment.
public comment. And we only have 5 people. So Karen's here again. Go ahead, Karen.
Two minutes, another successful year. So thank you for the trustees for doing a very difficult job in a very difficult year. I don't always agree with you, but thank you. Sarah for standing up all night and being wonderful despite the projection at the end of the table. The job that you continue to do is appreciated and absolutely necessary. There's not a day that goes by that this college doesn't touch my life. We are truly a cradle-to-grave institution. This institution truly is community, from Head Start to the Area Agency on Aging that just hosted a wellness fair for the seniors down at the Croc at the beginning of the month. 400 seniors learned about the Area Agency on Aging because of the work this college does. I am so glad that you're finally seeing what it is that we fight for. Despite the continued projection from the other end of the table and the continued threats that you continue to put out, yeah, I know what all those psalms say, sir. Your religious projection is not appreciated and it's not appropriate for this stage. This is a nonpartisan, non-religious facility. You'd leave your personal opinions outside. So again, thank you to the trustees, for doing their job. Thank you so much to the staff and the faculty for continuing to support the students and this community, and I hope for another successful year.
Thank you very much. Michael McGowan.
So this is about accreditation. Also, it's going to address Mr. Banducci's comments that he just recently made. I did a little research, NWCCU reports from the last year, both of them. I did a text search for the words stakeholder, constituent, and constituency. I wanted to see who really NWCC is all about, NWCCU, sorry, who they're supporting. So I got 22 hits. I also searched for the word voter, 0 hits, taxpayer, 0 hits. Out of the 22 hits, talking about stakeholders, constituents, 2 of those referred to the Board of Trustees, 2 out of 22. It's pretty clear what the NWCCU is all about and who they support. So yes, what they want, it's all part of the educational bureaucracy. NWCCU, even this college, to a degree, especially the leadership, not naming any names, don't even like to say that. However, also State Board of Education, when they stole our trustees from us and then installed Dr. Swain, not appreciated by a lot of the voters and taxpayers, but again, apparently we're chopped liver as far as NWCCU is concerned. And it shows up in that text search I did in those documents, the reports from last year. So I guess the whole accreditation issue then is problematical from the standpoint of the trustees who are elected to represent us, because it looks like, yes, all the NWCCU wants is the rubber stamp. And as soon as you don't do that, then you don't matter. In fact, you are to be hated and vilified. Thank you very much. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Robert Shepler.
My name is Robert Shepler, and I'd like to talk about the accreditation. The accreditation issues that we've had with NIC have lingered now since this board went into place 18 months ago, and we've been to as many meetings as possible, so we've seen the whole gamut left and right on it. One of the things we've learned by coming to the meetings is how deeply the community is affected by NIC. I had no idea how many programs were in the community until you start attending them and you see the success stories and you hear about everything from the Head Start to the Agency on Aging. The board has one issue, and that is to ensure we continue to stay accredited. The NWCCU has one issue, and that is with the board. We have a 3-month break for the summer. We hit it back at the end of August and then through the rest of the year. And I would hope the board would take time to reflect resolving the issues with the accreditation, because the idea of losing it is too valuable to this community. We're still on a show cause. That runs through April of 2025, so we're less than a year away. And if it's not resolved, then the school will go away and all the programs and people that benefit from it. So please, reconsider what you're doing and make sure you get it right. I don't want to end things on a negative note, so I would like to thank the staff, the faculty, the students, the administration. Another great successful year for the college. The board, the work you do is oftentimes not appreciated, but we do appreciate what you do and try. And it's important that we recognize those. We see a few familiar names every time, but there's so many that are not recognized. And we just want to let you know we see you, and we hear you, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Cruz Morales.
Chair Wagner, Board of Trustees, thank you. I'm here to give you thanks for giving my daughter a scholarship. She'll be here on softball scholarship, full ride. Means a lot to me and my family. She could have gone anywhere in the country. Since she was in 10th grade, she got D1 scholarship offers, D2, D3. Before she committed, one of the most trusted coaches in the country reached out to her and said, hey, look at what Coach Shea is doing at NIC. It's something special. We met with her. She decided to come here. She's a great softball player, but she's much more than that. She loves fishing, studies the Bible, gets A's, and most importantly, she's going to give back to the community. She's going to study criminal justice, and she wants to be a police officer here in Kootenai County. Her dream job is to patrol the lake and eventually be a detective. So I think it's great that you tap into the local athletic and academic scholarship. We have a lot of diversity in our own backyard, and I think she'll be a great example, and thank you.
Great.
And Pat Clevenger, I see him coming up here.
Good afternoon, trustees, Chair Wagner, Mr. President. Cruz, thank you for coming today. He was invited by myself, and I've known him and his daughter for many years. They're upstanding citizens. She's an exemplary athlete and human. And I just wanted the board to know that we're having the ability, as I keep watching the wrestling program, the softball program, and others, we are recruiting a lot of locals. And what excites me with the scholarships for the locals is they're much more likely to stay here. And the money that they could be getting in other places, our scholarships are retaining them because they are following the money. And right now they're able to follow it and stay local. So I think that's something to be aware of. And I think in the long run, it'll impact our budget in a positive way because we won't have to deal with so many international students as we will our locals. I hope. I spoke last month about optics. I want to thank all you trustees today. Optics look better. There's some tough decisions, some tough votes, but I think you voted for the college in a lot of ways today. I do encourage that the messaging that comes out, verbally or non-verbally, Chair Wagner, there's messaging being delivered, verbally and non-verbally, that makes it so the public can't really respond. And when we look at some of the messaging, we don't know how to put it in context. And so I am a born-again Christian, and as I read the scriptures that were displayed today, if I don't understand the context of some of those scriptures, it would be pretty difficult to put that into context. It won't help with evangelism, it won't help with discipleship. So I just encourage to think about what messaging we're sending out as a whole board.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, remarks for the good of the order. Do we have any? Mine is, we're at 8:09. And each meeting seems to get a little better. We've still got a ways to go, right?
I would just like to say something too.
Go ahead.
Excited to see that enrollment growth. Spread the good word. Tell people to enroll.
Remember, fly fishing is open.
Okay. We're adjourned.